And Julian, thank you for coming. This is not your first show to Jamestown, is it?
No. We came 2018.
Yeah.
There it was 2017, 2018.
And the reason you came here was for what reason?
Well, it was when the former ownership turned over the team to the town, to the city.
Yeah. And you came with who?
My father. Yeah. Bob Julian. He's the president of the Perfect Game Collegiate League as well. But I do want to state for the record, I was in the league before he was. So there's that.
Well, talk a little bit about your mom and dad. I mean, if you're here today, but there's a background.
Sure.
Backstory.
So my father was an attorney growing up. He was president of the New York Penn League and also a politician. So he wore a lot of different hats, and I was able to benefit, I think, as a young man from that because you had to go shake hands and kiss babies and all that other stuff that you do on the political trail, but also to be able to get cross-examined at the dinner table was always a lot of fun. We had to do school readings when I was a kid, and I had a knack for not actually reading the book and be able to BS my way through it. So one day he was asking me about To Kill a Mockingbird, and unbeknownst to me, it was his favorite book of all time. So I start BSing, and he lets me go. And finally, he asked me a very poignant question, which he asked me how Mrs. Finch felt about Atticus taking the case. Well, I didn't read the book, so I started going off about how Mrs. Finch was really worried about the kids and everything. He let me go for a good 10 minutes and finally said, "Go read the book. Mrs. Finch is dead." So, those type of things growing up, I think helped a lot as far as the person who I've become. My mother was a stay-at-home mom for most of my life and was really amazing about trying to get us to travel and see different things. I mean, I saw Williamsburg, I saw New York City a lot, Ellis Island, all these different things, Washington, D.C. So I was able to kind of experience a lot of different things as a younger person that have now kind of helped me when it comes to the different aspects of life. Especially when you're a traveling baseball coach and you go from town to town, it's a lot of fun to be able to kind of pull back some of those things that I've learned as a kid and use them to try and navigate the world.
Athletics, was that part of your early life? Did that come organically through you, or your mom and dad were they involved?
I was not a natural athlete. I was a serviceable athlete in any sport I played, but I worked my tail off in baseball, and that's what got me into college. I had good enough grades to get into college, but I got a full ride as a catcher for NJIT, New Jersey Institute of Technology, and that was purely hard work. My father wasn't able to play sports as a kid, so he had to work. So when I was young and started playing baseball, he said to my brother and I, he said, as long as you guys are playing something or doing something, you don't have to work. Well, I realized I didn't want to work. So I fell in love with baseball. I worked my tail off at that. And, here it is. I'm 43 years old and I'm living my dream by still being on a baseball field.
You grew up in Utica.
Yes, sir.
Being 43, did the Utica have a team at the time?
They did.
New York Penn League?
Yeah, I was so before Bob, my father became president of the New York Penn League in 1992. I was the bat boy for Utica Blue Sox when they were with the White Sox. Mm-hmm. So I actually have kept in contact with some of those guys as I got older, and so it's been fun. First of all, for them to see me go from an 11-year-old bat boy to a coach in my own right, but also to see them. And hear their recollections of those times, those summers we spent together.
It was an independent league at one, or independent team, not affiliated in the New York Penn League, and I think it had a celebrity ownership.
It was Bill Murray. Bill Murray, yeah. There was a brief time where they weren't affiliated, and I was real young during that time. Yeah. But they were with my earliest recollection, they were with the Phillies, Expos, White Sox, Red Sox, Marlins, I think was how it went down during my time. And then a guy by the name of Cal Ripken Jr. bought the team and moved them to Aberdeen. And so that was it for baseball in Utica for a while until the perfect game collegiately got there.
A minor celebrity.
Yeah, no, he's not exactly on anybody's Christmas card list in Utica for taking the team, but now the whole Penn League's gone, it doesn't really matter, I guess.
Did Ken Brett? I know Ken Brett had an ownership interest at one point.
He did, yeah. Once again, I was pretty young during that time, but yeah, Ken Brett was part of it, and that's how I kind of knew who George Brett was because of his brother Ken. So
I'm sure you probably heard the story. It's a little bit personal now. At one point, your dad as president of the league and Mike Bellani going down to Washington and lobbying.
Yeah.
There's a video of that, of your dad outside of Senator Schumer's office. In addition, this is the unknown. This is a scoop for you, Scott. Only Russ Dietrich really knows this, that when your dad resigned as president and chose not to continue on, there was a vacancy. And at the time, Bob Rich and John Dandies put my name up as president of the league. And I went to New York City and, in fact, interviewed for the job.
Okay.
And didn't get it. And the guy from Florida,
Ben Hayes.
Thank you. Ben got it. It turned out great. But it's interesting, the question the owners asked of me, and it told me a million things at the time, that if you're the president, you got qualifications. If you're the president of the league, could you decide if circumstances warranted that Jamestown would have to leave the league? Due to distance, to population, and of course your answer is sort of a wishy-washy, sure, the league comes first. Well, I think that kind of blew right through me, and it also tells you a little bit about that. But it was a really unsettling question.
Sure.
It has nothing to do with this, but it drops in because of your dad.
Well, it's kind of funny too about that. Ben Hayes. So my father became a judge, a state Supreme Court judge in 2000, and that was why he had to leave. He had to step down. But Ben Hayes, who was general counsel for minor league baseball at the time, is a graduate of St. Petersburg High School, where I am the head baseball coach currently. So I was on the field my first year there. And all of a sudden, this guy walks out. And he looks vaguely familiar. And I hadn't seen Ben since I was probably 15. And he looks vaguely familiar. And he's got a couple boxes of baseballs in his hand. He said, "How you doing?" "I'm Ben." I said, "My name's Ben too." He said, "Well, nice to meet you." I said, I look at him. I said, "What's your last name?" He said, "Hayes." I said, "No, I'm Bobby Julian's kid." He said, "Oh, get out of here." So the next, we were able to kind of rekindle our friendship, and we actually named the leadership award for St. Pete baseball after Ben. And he's doing well down in Florida at the moment. So it's good.
Small world. So you are in college. You get a full ride. You're a catcher, and at some point you graduate. And then what?
So I did a Northeast tour of schools. So I went from NJIT to a community college, then to Cazenovia College. When I got to Cazenovia, I started acting, so after school, I coached the summer of 2003. I coached in it was the NYCBL at the time in Utica, and then that after that summer, I went down to New York City and tried to be an actor. Obviously, worked out very well because here I am. So it was.
How does that? Did you have to get? How does that actually work? You can say, "I'm going to New York to become an actor," but you got to work through schools.
Yeah. So for what I did was I went down and I got a serving job at a restaurant in Times Square, and because that's what you do, right?
Yeah.
And I went to every audition I could. There's an old story about Dennis Hoffman, the Graduate. Dustin Hoffman. So he was the part in The Graduate was written for a 6-foot+ blonde-haired surfer guy, and Dustin went in and read, and they changed Benjamin Braddock to a smaller young man because of the way he read. So my philosophy was I went to every audition I could, from whether it was called for a 6'6" black man or a 5'4" woman. I went to every audition I could, and was told no a lot. But that was kind of the process. And living in New York City in my early 20s was a really a great experience, not just as far as the fun you have in New York City as a 20-something-year-old, but to learn a lot about myself and life, which I think has really carried over as far as everything else going forward after that.
So, but at some point, did you wake up one morning and say, this isn't going to work for me and I need to do something else?
It was the hardest decision I ever made. And partly because people told you you're not going to make it and all that other stuff. So kind of giving into that was really tough. And so I called my father. I was out of a Subway and I had Picoed on. Somebody had stolen my wallet. They cut my coat open and stole everything out of my phone, my wallet. I didn't realize it until I got off the Subway. So that was kind of the last straw for me. And then I called him, and I was really, really, resolute until I heard his voice, and I started breaking down because it was tough having to admit that I couldn't do it. But as we all know, life is filled with things you can't do, and so when you experience that, as devastating as it might be in the moment, it really I like to try and take positives out of the failures that I've had. I think you learn more from failure sometimes than success, because you don't always know why you're successful, but you can figure out why you weren't successful. And I think that's one of the things I bring. I talk to the guys about, especially baseball being a game of failure. It's about how you deal with it. How do you clear it? How do you still have the confidence in yourself despite of a 0 for 15 streak? Yeah. And that's for me the real joy of coaching is helping guys through those things and becoming closer as people.
How long were you in New York?
2 years.
Where were you? Where did you live?
I lived in Hell's Kitchen, 47th between 8th and 9th. The apartment was the size of that chair, but it was quite the experience. I mean, I loved it. I worked at ESPN Zone in Times Square, so I got to see sports, while working. Would go to Yankee games on my days off, sit in the bleachers for $20, and really tried to enjoy as much as New York. I wouldn't live there again unless I was making a lot of money. But to struggle at that point in time in that area was it was relatively close to 9/11. So the city loved these. It was this love fest of humanity, which was I still got to experience, which really was a pretty special experience.
What roles might have you done?
Well, so my senior project in school was a one-man show about Clarence Darrow, who, in the playbill, I talked about how Clarence Darrow had the mind of my father and the heart of my mother, and it was a special moment to be able to do that show. My first play in college was The Godfather, adapted to stage. I still think I should have been Tom Hagen, or I should have been. I was Tom Hagen. I should have been Michael Corleone, but it was the kid whose senior project it was who did it. So, but Tom Hagen was most stage time, and that when I first came off that stage for opening night and the crowd erupted, it was one of the biggest highs I've ever felt. To a point where when I lived in New York City, I met Ed Harris, who's an actor, and he had played football in college. So we talked about the thrill of being on stage. It's like hitting a home run, but it lasts for a day. You hit a home run, you got to go back out in that field. Unless it's a game winner, you got to go back in that field, and it kind of gets washed away. When you come off that stage, that feeling is. And I think that's one of the reasons I love this league and coaching it like this. I mean, it's nice to be in front of people, sharing this game that we all love. It's going to be good not to be razzed by the fans, or at least to start, razzed by the fans here in Jamestown. They're a pretty knowledgeable group. And at third base, you hear a lot of funny stuff coming out of the bleachers. So I'm looking forward to being on the good side for a change.
That's also called the Pew Crew.
Okay.
If you haven't heard that,
No.
You may meet them at lunch today because that's where they hang. There were the guys that were up from the third base dugout.
Okay.
A group with them.
All right.
They're very good at that.
Yeah. They're knowledgeable too. They started asking about Florida and other things too. Man, these guys they looked us up. So it's gonna be good to be on that side, on the good side of it for a while.
So acting comes to an end. You have memories, and to get into the baseball side of this, did your dad give you suggestions, or did you find someplace that needed some help?
So I came back to upstate New York. I was waiting tables. I was actually doing construction for my uncle, which was not my thing. And we were working on Delmonico's. It's a steakhouse chain that started in Utica. And the owner pulled up, and we started talking. And he said, "Well, if there's anything I can do for you," I said, "Well, to tell you the truth, this construction gig isn't really my thing. If I can wait tables at one of your restaurants." So he asked me Syracuse or Utica. I picked Syracuse. Started waiting tables. And then when my father retired as a judge and went back to practicing law, I came on board with him, and then I got my paralegal certification and was a paralegal for him for a number of years. Sometime around 2013, I was at a Brew at the Zoo festival in Utica Zoo, and ran into the community college coach. And he said, "I got a couple of raw catchers. I'd love for you to come, work with them." He said, "I can't really afford to pay you at the moment." I said, "Do I get a free hat and a T-shirt?" I'm in, So I walked in the first day of fall, and like a kid in a candy shop. It was just my being away from the game for at that point in time 10 years was really beneficial to my passion for coaching. So to be around the guys again and all that stuff. So the first week I was there, the pitching coach took another job, and he offered me the pitching coach job, so I took a pay cut at the office to be able to to make a lot less money coaching a little bit, and at the time, and that first year we had there were some really really memorable moments as far as the team goes, and they were able to come back and win 3 out of the last 4 to make playoffs.
What team is this?
The Mohawk Valley Community College, and so. I really, fell in love with coaching at that point. And then after that season ended, I had 5 players tell me I was the best coach they ever had. So to have that kind of positive feedback of something you really love to do. And so I was with MVCC for 3 years from there. And then I coached the first summer. I was still playing in adult leagues at that time. So the summer of 2015, I played in 3 different teams. 18 and over league and some other old men leagues. I played well. I knew I was going to be coaching. I wanted to coach every summer from there on out, so I kind of left it all on the field. And then 2016, I coached in Boonville, New York, in the Adirondack Trailblazers. It was my first experience with the Perfect Game Collegiate League, and it was eye-opening experience. I learned a lot, and I failed a lot. So it was kind of the start of this type of stuff for me, and I was able to. 2017, I was replaced late when they made some changes in the organization, and so I lost a couple of jobs that I turned down to stay there. So 2017, I had to stay. I was off, and then 2018, I had an opportunity to be an assistant with Utica under a guy by the name of Joe Martinez, who's the head coach of Batavia. Who's become my best friend, and we fell. He's my hetero life mate. We fell in love both on the field as coaches, and became unbelievable friends as well. So 2018 we did that. I was offered a job in this league for 2019. I wanted to try something else, so Joe and I decided to go to Madisonville, Kentucky together, and so we coached in the Ohio Valley League there. And then 2020 happened. I was coaching a travel team down in Florida, a showcase team, a 16 and 15-year-old showcase team. Played all over the South while everyone was locked up here. We were traveling all over playing. And then Auburn was part of the league, and the ownership had had tried to hire me before for other teams. So I figured I had an in, so I called them up, and I said, interested in the job. Ended up getting it. Went up there for 2021, and after the first year, I signed a 2-year extension, and had a lot of fun. It's a great town. I really made some great friends there. A beautiful ballpark, a little fake, but as far as it's a turf field, so it's nice to be on grass again. And so I spent the past 3 years there. And when they had some changes ownership wise, I figured it was probably best to try and find somewhere else. I was looking at other leagues, and then Jordan called me and said he was stepping down, asked if I was interested. And luckily for me, I was hired. So
Looking for the Jamestown team. You were available because you beat us all 8 games, as I recall, last year.
it was, I didn't play the games.
Just not that we have long memory.
No, that's listen.
God, are we playing Auburn again?
I was actually talking to Christian Dulce earlier, and I said, I was really pulling for you guys to beat Elmira because I'd rather come here and play here than at Dunn Field, but also we felt like we had you that year. Yeah, we felt like we had you. So, but we realistically though, every time we played, it was there were kind of seminal moments in our season last year for our guys, and so we got lucky against you, but we struggled against other teams that we should have beat. So that's the funny thing about baseball. You on paper you can be one way, but we were owned by Newark for some reason. We just couldn't beat them. I don't know why, but the overall part of what happened last year was the core group of guys that are coming here. I mean, that's a testament, and obviously it's a testament to me and our relationship together. But the fact that they didn't flinch at coming to Jamestown, I think it really shows how beautiful the ballpark is, how well they're treated here, and how exciting it is to be part of the history this year.
Do you have a sense of turf versus real?
Turf is hot, especially in the summertime. The new turf they have these days is really amazing. It's very grass-esque, but still you're not gonna. It's still turf. There's something about the playing on grass that really is baseball, I think. And I remember playing on the old AstroTurf, which was this carpet over concrete. And I hit a triple in it's PNC Bank Stadium, I think it is now, right, where the Syracuse Mets play. I hit a triple. For me at that point in time as a catcher to hit a triple was pretty special. But I hit a ground ball, it got past the shortstop, and it just kept rolling on the turf. So it was not really a driven ball, but that turf really helped out. So, but so the new stuff is nice, but and it makes sense if you're going to play a lot of games. Like down in Florida, there's some complexes that have all turf because they play 7-8 games a day on them, so it kind of helps. But
in your travels at various spots, how would you characterize Dietrich Park for what league that you're in?
Sure.
A game league, just your impression of
it's beautiful. From the brick, from the out, you pull up the outside brick, the light stanchions, I think are a special feature. The way the press box is right there above everything. It's if you're kind of expanded around, it kind of reminds me of old Tiger Stadium a little bit when it comes to the light stanchions and everything, which I always thought was a really cool little ballpark. So the field, the playing surface itself is one of the best in the league, and I think comparably, it's one of the nicer stadiums all the way around. Obviously Auburn's a lot newer, right? They've got the turf, they got the padded walls and stuff, which is the one thing that kind of separates that. But as far as the history of it goes, how well it's maintained is really quite special.
Okay, 1941 stadium. The question I really wanted to ask you: what's your memories of Schultz and Dooley?
Schultz and Dooley. Well, I have my aunt collects them, so I had the Steins, and I actually would hide things from my brother in them. Whether it be a candy bar or something else that he wanted, I would use them as my hiding spot. So, Schultz and Dooley is if you're from Utica, and I'm a little too young to remember the actual heyday of it, but they're still a big part of Utica for sure.
Welcome to Jamestown. We don't have a Schultz and Dooley.
Well,
so you're here, and kind of what's your knowledge base of Jamestown? Now, obviously we're part of the league, but do you know much about its legacy? It's sort of been around for over 75 years, that type of thing?
The team itself, or
they're just, I mean, Jamestown baseball,
yeah,
it's a long time
sure.
standing there.
Yeah, I mean, being part of the New York Penn League as a kid, obviously I'm familiar with all the teams that would come in, and it was fun to watch. For me, it was fun to watch. When they were the Expos come in and see the Expos uniforms and the way they did them, and the Auburn Astros came in and they had the A on the hat as opposed to the H. Those are those things as a kid that I really enjoyed. So for me, I'm very familiar with the fact that baseball's been here for a long time. It's obviously as part of the Penn League. That's where most of my knowledge comes from of it. But to be able to walk around the Hall of Fame and to be able to hear people talk and see the guys that have come through here, just really puts a new perspective on it.
Well, we appreciate it when you've attended the meetings with the board and your enthusiasm of our team that you have put together. Maybe talk a little bit about the recruiting process and perhaps some of the people and why you chose certain people.
Sure. So there's two prevailing thoughts when it comes to recruiting teams like this. One is you get big name schools and they get whatever they send you. The other is you go out and recruit players, regardless of the school. So I was able to, luckily, even before like Simon Aluko, who pitched for me last year, who's going to be here with us this year. He was trying to go to the Northwoods, which is number 2 league in the country, which I understand. But even before he decided to come on board, he was playing at Shorter University with other guys that are coming on board: Kobe Jones, Tommy Schroeder, and Julian Sauger. So the word of mouth through players that I've coached before is a big part of it, because I ultimately want guys that fit well in the clubhouse and fit me well. I'm a big character guy as far as with these players. They've got to be good people. I don't care how good of a ball player you are if you're a jerk. So to try and create a team, I was luckily able to interview almost every kid, even the kids that Zach recruited, and kind of get everybody on board, because when they come to these leagues, a lot of them just want their reps. Well, that's great, but if you're just going up there just to get at bats? How does it translate to what you want to do later? You got to try and win. You got to try and compete, and so winning for me is a big thing. I hate losing. I hate losing more than I love winning. So I want guys that are going to come in and want to be committed to winning and doing what they have to do. Nothing is given. They've all just because they're on the team doesn't mean that they're guaranteed anything. They've got to come, and rent's due every day, and they got to pay. So luckily I was able to get back to the answer. I was able to call different coaches I know, different players I know, and get linked up with a really outstanding group of guys. Pretty excited as far as the offensively and defensively. I think we're going to be pretty good. Pitching wise, I think we have some really good arms. So there's been a little attrition. We've lost a couple guys here and there already due to injury or whatever else. So I've got 4 calls that are coming in today from different guys that hopefully are going to help bolster the staff a little bit. But as far as we look right now, I think we look really good.
Just for the camera, because not everybody may not know, what are the qualifications to be a player in this league?
You have to be either you can be a just graduated high school senior that's committed to a school to play baseball, or you have to be you have to play college baseball. Now there is some guys who are redshirted and stuff like that, so they're not technically on a roster, but that's all. You have to have eligibility, I guess, would be the thing. We do have a couple high school seniors coming in. We've got one kid from Florida, Brady Wright, who just graduated from Eastlake High School, who's going to Santa Fe Community College. We have Shawnell Maldonado, who is a Dominican-born player who is graduating June 3rd from St. Benedict's Prep School in Newark, New Jersey. He's a 6'4", 6'5". He's hitting .645 right now in high school, and he throws low 90s. So he's not a bad guy to have. So and Brady's 6'3", and he's low 90s on the mound as well. So we have some real talent, I think, coming in. Especially we have the older guys that are juniors and a little bit more mature, which I think is really going to help in the clubhouse. And then you have some real young talent that I think is going to really blossom with the opportunity here this summer. So
you seem to like the recruiting.
I do. I like it the way I was able to do it. Previous ownership wanted certain schools, and so I know that the supposed knock on me was I couldn't recruit. I couldn't recruit what they wanted. I don't care to take a kid who, and you're going to take some players. Like we have a kid from Grand Canyon University, Austin Matranga. He didn't play much, but he's going to get a lot of opportunity here. But you can't have a whole team of that, right? And Grand Canyon is a very good program. They are one of the top programs in the country at the moment. So I'll take, you take him, and then you take a couple other kids that play, and now you mash them all together, and you have hopefully you have a successful season. The process itself of trying to build guys that are on like-minded and on board is really a lot of fun, because sitting there having these conversations with the players about how I am and how passionate I am, and I'm borderline lunatic, but it's a lot of fun, and I inherently love my players. So we're in this together. When they get here, I'm their guy. That's the most important part for me is to be able to be together as a team, and especially in the summertime, they're mercenaries, right? You only have them for a short amount of time. So to try and foster that kind of mentality and play for something and have it be one of the most amazing experiences you can have in a short amount of time.
Talk about a short amount of time. They really roll in this weekend, start rolling in, and you play Thursday.
Yep.
Game on. How does one plan really a 2-3 day camp other than put name tags on them? How do you do that?
Well, that's luckily, as they say, it's not my first rodeo. So but through trial and error, I figured out that you have kind of multiple things you got to get done, and the best way to do it, I think, is we have once they're all here, we'll have 2-a-day sessions. So they'll come in partly because you want to get everything done, bunt defense, first thirds, all that stuff, so they're all on the same page. What terminology is for cuts. And they're all college baseball players, so you want to make sure that they know what's going on, but you don't need to belabor the point. But you get everything in, and you go over signs, all that stuff, and then that night you have BP under the lights, so that way guys get used to everything. And what that does also is it builds the team chemistry and the camaraderie, because they're around each other all day. It feels like forever the first week or two, and then the season flies by after that. So when they get here, it's about just trying to get them comfortable, get everyone to know each other a little bit. I generally make them all introduce themselves and say something about themselves, which can be quite humorous at times. And then, from that, it's just about trying to go out there and get ready to compete.
What's your sense of the league, Perfect Game Collegiate Baseball League, which we're part of a franchise, as I understand it. There are other Perfect Game Collegiate Baseball Leagues in other states.
Yeah, I think we're the only one with the Perfect Game moniker.
Is that right?
I think so. As far as I know, I know Perfect Game is all over the place. They have tournaments. They actually have a clothing line now too. That's how big it's gotten. For us, I would say, not to speak out of turn, but I'd say the name is pretty much what that's all they really provide. Is that name and that recognition. I think the league itself is the same. I think if it's called the New York Penn League, but the Perfect Game name is more nationally known. So people don't know what New York Penn League is necessarily, right? But everyone in the country knows Perfect Game. So it is a selling point for recruiting, just because it's a familiar name. It's kind of like McDonald's. You just know it as soon as you hear it in the baseball world. So, but as far as the league goes itself, it's historically one of the top 10 leagues in the country. There's 154 leagues, I believe, summer collegiate leagues. Some are good, some are not. But to be in the top 10 is pretty special. And I think what we offer as far as the stadiums we play at, the old Penn League parks, and how beautiful it is in upstate New York during the summer. It's quite special. I think I'd rather be here than some of the better some of the other better leagues I won't name that play at high school parks all the time. I like going to stadiums. I like playing in front of people. I like so that's my goal is to get out and try and meet people here and try and get people excited even more about Jamestown baseball, because I like playing in front of people. It's a lot more fun.
What's your earliest baseball memory?
Playing running bases with my father and my brother. It was in Old Forge, New York. So I remember going to games before that, but I can't remember anything about it. I do remember playing. My father. I realize now they would just have me run the whole time and put back and forth. But we were playing. We would rent a house in Old Forge for a couple weeks in the summer, and so my father would come up and so I remember playing running bases with him. And then the next year, after that, I wanted to play Little League baseball. So I was 7 or 8 years old. So I started 1 year in minor league. They threw gear on me and put me behind the plate. I had no idea what I was doing. I knew I had to wear a cup. That was about all I knew. At one point in time, I remember there was a catcher pop-up hit, and minor league was a half coach pitch, half player pitch, and it was catcher pop-up, and I turned around, I caught it. I was so excited. The guy tagged up from first and went to second. So luckily for me, I got improved behind the plate. I actually tried to get out of catching when I was in high school. When I was in seventh grade, I tried out for the freshman baseball team, and it was a 3-day tryout. I was at third base for the first 2 days, and I thought I was the best third baseman there, but there was a freshman ahead of me. And so they finally, after the second day, they said, "Do we have any more catchers here?" I reluctantly raised my hand. And he said, "What's your name?" So that's not good. My name is Ben Julian. "Oh, we heard about you. Where have you been?" I said, "Third base." So I threw the gear on, and then I quickly realized that not everyone was willing to do what it took to be a good catcher. And so once I embraced that part, I really kind of went off. And my goal was to be the best defensive catcher to ever come out of my area. It's a debatable thing, I think, but I was pretty good because I was willing to do it. I fell in love with it. It's the greatest position out there. Can't do it anymore. Carlton Fisk. Carlton Fisk. Yeah. I didn't know he was a Red Sox because he was with the White Sox when I was growing up. So when I found out he was a Red Sox, I had at one point in time I had a little bit of a crisis of conscience.
You're a Yankee.
I am. Yeah.
Me too.
All right. There you go. Yeah, I was at Game 6 in '96. I watched Wade Boggs go around the stadium on the horse live.
Oh, nice.
So I was 16 years old, and so it was very special to be in high school to really remember them winning. When you're a kid and they win, it's they didn't do when I was a kid, but you can lose it a little bit, or lose the memory, or it gets dulled. But when you're 16 years old and you're not old enough to have any drinks yet, so you're fully cognizant of it all. And, it was pretty special.
Yeah.
Pretty special.
Is there a message that here we are filming this a week before our opener, and those that will watch this, because you didn't consent to this being on YouTube, but it will be.
Well,
is there a message that you want to give to the fans because they now, hi, I'm Ben Julian, I'm in town, and I'd like to deliver this message?
Sure. First of all, what are the skunk faithful? What's Skunk Nation?
Few crew.
The Few crew. Honestly, I'm really just unbelievably excited for what we put together this year. And I think if everyone comes out to games, you're going to see a lot of energy, a lot of passion, and some really good baseball players. You might see me lose my stuff on an umpire from time to time, which I go throwback with Billy Martin and Earl Weaver, and filling in home plate and stuff like that. So you never know what that's going to happen. But I'm respectful about it. I just put on a show. So you're going to see a lot of passion and really good baseball. I know all the guys are excited to get here, And I think when it all shakes out, when we have the ticker tape parade down Main Street, celebrating our championship, we'll look back at this and say it was a heck of a start.
This is great. Thank you,
Awesome.
Scott.
Thank you.
Anything more?
No, I'm good.
That's good. And I just want to know, when you kick the dust on the umpire and the umpire writes you up and sends it to the league president, does he have to recuse himself?
Yes, but the thing is, I get one a year. Well, first of all, after one, you get suspended for a game, and I don't want to take any time off. I generally do it once a year, just for, I pick my
For the
spot.
show?
Yeah, well, but part of it, you got to have your guys back, and so I last year was in Elmira, one of my best hitters who never argued anything. I'd already gone out and argued 3 calls, so the fourth time generally is my, I do anything I can at that point. But went out, I pushed Hazel started getting into it. I pushed him back, got in the umpire's face, and the other guy came down. And I said, "Don't you come near me because you're not very good either." Something along those lines, at least. So but it's not personal. It's just doing a job, and they're all very nice people, I'm sure. But when it comes down to it, I have my job to do, and they have theirs. So I try not to get on the president's bad side, because I like family dinner as is, and I don't like being tortured. So, but it's he does recuse himself from any decisions when it comes to me, which I think is the right thing to do. And he's been my judge, jury, and executioner my whole life. I don't really need him to be that way for me here too. So,
But thank you. This has been
thank
great.
you.